Hey, this is Jon Gordon with Positive You, and today my guest is Matthew McConaughey. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm doing good, John. Good afternoon to you, sir.
So we were introduced by Chris Del Conte, the athletic director of Texas. You are the minister of culture there. Can you talk about that awesome title and your role?
Absolutely. So, Minister of Culture. Look, I mean, I've looked back. I've got an education. I graduated college. I look back at where's my best education been? And it's basically been through my interest in people and the amount of places and people that I've been able to see and witness with my job as an activist, taking me all over the world. My passport is full. I think a full passport is one of the best sort of calling cards you can have. If you see somebody with a full passport, you can pretty much trust that they've got a really good wide view of life and humanities. The Minister of Culture role for me started off with the athletic department at UT, then sort of bled into the University of Texas, and now it's also bleeding to the city of Austin. And partially that's by design, in that I'm looking to align values, values are bipartisan. They're non-denominational. We don't have to agree on our politics, but we can agree on the value of respect. We can agree on the value of hard work. We can agree on the value of accountability. Things like that. That list goes on and on. So where do we align the values? And I look at my position as sort of a place in the middle, or almost a bridge between two things. The values of a great athlete and a winning team. Those align with the same values of a student who is into computers or business. Those values and work ethics are aligned. So that's within a university. You have the values in Austin, Texas, of the city and the university. You have the university inside the city of Austin that sometimes butt heads, but how do we align our values through the city and the university that make the city of Austin, University of Texas's backyard, and make the University of Texas the city of Austin's backyard? It hopefully will align that we will start looking as a city right to our university for talent, engineers, lawyers, bankers, everything right coming out of the University of Texas. And people coming out of the University of Texas will look to work right here in Austin. So we will feed ourselves. So it's aligning values of companies, universities, businesses, cities, along with each other. And they're scalable. They can be used they can be taken away to other universities, to other cities. And as you know, values scale. They travel. They last.
And culture drives everything, right?
I mean, I think so. I don't know what really, it's an umbrella that pretty much everything fits under. That's for doggone sure. And that term is used more often now and a lot more in sports. What's our culture? What's our culture? And in the day of, in sports where there's more free agency and you can't really depend on certain players being in one place for as long as maybe you used to could. You have to have a sound culture where no matter if a player or players come in for a year or stay there for 15 years, there's a culture that's set, that's grounded, that is established, that no matter how individually great you may be or talented you may be, you have to fit into that culture. And that doesn't mean the culture is not pliable. Talk to Mac Brown. You ask him, he's got that quote, did you treat Ricky Williams like everybody? He goes, I'll treat everybody fair, but I will not treat you all the same. You have a Michael Jordan come through, you don't just say, no, it has to be done exactly this way. Bill Belichick runs a great organization. He lets individuals come in, but he understands when to let them call an audible. Mac Brown knew when to let Vince Young call an audible, you know what I mean, within his culture.
Love that. So right now we're going through this coronavirus pandemic. How are you staying positive through it right now yourself?
Well, one, I know we're going to come out of it. And the old adage of this too shall pass, it really has a lot of worth, because it doesn't necessarily put a timetable, which none of us can put. We can't say in 3 months, this is gone. No, we don't know. This could be a 2-year process. We don't know, but knowing that it will pass feeds into resilience of body, mind, and spirit for any of us. It's a hope. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. So know that. It also, I think, clicks in mentally and spiritually that we tap into a reserve. There we go. Oh, okay. I personally like to project when I have a task at hand, like getting through this crisis the best way possible. I like to project and get in my mind that I think that it's going to last longer than it probably is. So if I anticipate that, hey, I might be doing this for 2 years. I might be quarantined for 2 years. I don't think that's going to be the case, but let's put that way out there. Well, I'm already daily working up energy, saving it, using my energy to deal with day to day. So when we get tapped on the shoulder and said, you can get back in the game, it's okay to go back and engage, it's gone, I'll be like, no, I'm good. I got another month in me. I mean, that works for sports as well. Play, don't play. Bo Jackson didn't just cross the finish line. He ran through the end zone and up the tunnel. The great snipers don't aim at the target. They aim on the other side of it. And if you waste a lot of energy, if you think, is it going to be gone tomorrow? Was it going to be gone the next day? If you're going day to day, you're wasting, I think, about 30% of energy on anticipating an end when it's not there. So if you can mentally get set that it's far out there, you'll start really conserving your time and energy and working diligently day to day. So that's one of the ways I'm dealing with it.
That is such great advice. When you think about your past and the challenges that you face yourself, what was your mental framework back then that helped you overcome the challenges that you faced? This is Positive University, so it's really great to think about how we can overcome our challenges.
Well, it's three things for as far as I can tell. You persist, or you pivot, or you raise the white flag and say, I'll live to fight another day. So persistence, sometimes I face things where I'm like, no, I have to this is about endurance. I have to keep working harder and I will get to the other side of this. Keep on the track, endure it, be more resilient to win and get to what I want. If the other side is to pivot, sometimes we're not getting what we want and we have a conflict. It's because we need to back off and go, am I approaching this situation the right way? Because I'm fatigued. I'm hammering myself to get through this. Now, the thing is, if you stop persisting long enough, you're a quitter. But if you persist too long at something when you should back out and approach it a different way, you're sort of the definition of insanity. You're banging your head against the wall. You know what I mean? So, and then the third one is, hey, I'm going to live to fight another day. There's too much going on, too many variables that are out of my control right now. I need to reapproach and realign myself and calibrate myself about how I'm going about this. Now, a fourth thing, which I put an asterisk by, is called denial. Now, there is value in denial if you truly commit to it. I've seen my mother beat 2 types of cancer on aspirin because she just denied it. Now, I'm not talking about some magic voodoo. I'm talking about she beat it. She had it and she beat it. And that's all she took. Wouldn't even go to the doctor. Now, so how does your mind work? Sometimes if you just deny a crisis, like a great adage I've heard, got this great advice from an old wise man once. He said, Matthew, I've had thousands of crises in my life. Most of them never happened. So if you don't give crisis credit, you can blow by it. And that's a form of deny it. Just deny it's real. Because what I see happens now is too many people bitch about just being human. Too many people are griping about, hey, well, that's life. You just got to deal. That's part of it. You got to wake up every day and somehow, some way, mentally, physically, or spiritually, break a sweat. It's not supposed to be easy if you have any ambition whatsoever. So yeah, you can, don't give crisis credit is another way of going, I'm dealing relatively with my situation because it is inevitable. This is how I'm going to deal with it. And sometimes that means just deny it.
I love that. Did you ever want to give up? But you didn't?
Did I ever want to give up and I didn't?
Oh.
I don't remember ever really wanting to give up. I've had, I haven't won every race I've been in. I think I finished every race I was in. I may have come in last place. Definitely didn't win first. But no, I've had, look, my best, I wouldn't be sitting there talking to you today if I didn't endure through some very severe tribulations. Some of them are no one else's business but my own and my own family's. But then I have ones with like a year abroad where I got incredibly homesick and was not in a really good situation in the place that I was. But I gave the person who sent me over there a handshake deal that I would go the entire year and I wouldn't pull the parachute and come home soon. And whatever pride I had in that, whatever incentive integrity of my own father's teachings to me that I upheld there, it allowed me to immediately go, look, you're going through a mental hell right now, McConaughey, but you'll look back on, there's some lesson you're supposed to learn here now. And you know how it is. It's all a science when we look back. Sometimes it's a science tomorrow, next week, next month, next year on our deathbed. And sometimes it's a science after we're gone and martyrdom and our grandkids figure it out. Somewhere you look back and go, oh, now I know what that was about. Now I know why that was an asset. But it's always, they're going to be that in some form in the future, some way. And that's another bit of solace in kind of goes back to this too shall pass. Well, not only this too shall pass, this hardship you're going through right now, one day you will look back on it and go, oh, that's what I got out of it. That's why I went through that. That helped make me into who I am, this asset that I am today.
Do you see similarities between athletics and acting in terms of working on your craft?
100%. 100%. I mean, look, I think sports is the greatest reality TV there is. It's wonderful. The rules are set. Society can learn so much about sports. The rules are set. The field, the court, the course, it's all set for everyone to play it. The rules are understood by both sides. And you can have opponents. You can be battling each other, or you're battling time, or you're battling the course in golf, and the elements. So the competence rises to the top in an equal opportunity way in sports. It's a very that's something when we talked earlier about minister of culture. That's one of my things: values and the competence of values. The more competent we are at our own values, I think we create more value and can create more equal opportunity from that. But sports, preparation. I know if and when I'm better at my job than someone else, I know one thing that no one does not do. No one out prepares me. No one prepares more than I do. Now, it took me a while to learn that, because I backed into my career. I fell into an acting role, and I didn't ever have an acting lesson until 5 years after I was already acting, So I had the instincts for it, but then I had to learn the craft. And as you know, there's a time of limbo when you start to learn something that you're naturally gifted at, or you have an innate ability for. And it's sort of paralyzing at first, because it's a very heady, cerebral, intellectual experience. And all of a sudden you're not relying on, just your instincts. Now let's take that to sports. If you bring in at University of Texas, if you bring in a new DC, and you don't get those young men prepared to know that defensive playbook, they're not fully prepared by the time it's game one. You see them a half a step late because they're having to think about what the game plan is. It's a cerebral. You're a half a step late. They're a half a step past you. So any craft you have to learn. You have to learn it here, but you're not ready to actually go do it until it's down in your gut and in your loins, and it's instinctive. So I went through a transition period of about 2 years where I was learning my craft of acting, and I did not do good work for about 2 years. Wasn't getting jobs. But then as soon as I stuck with it and it went from my head where I didn't have to think about it, then I was better at it than I was before. And so that's how I approach my work. I prepare to where I have hundreds of pages of notes going into a scene, but by the time I'm going to work, I'm throwing all those pages away. I don't need them. They're old hat to me. I know that. I don't have to think about it. It's instinctual.
You're one of the greatest actors on the planet. What drives you to be so great?
Well, let's start with this one. And I think we could all use a little bit more of this in today's society. I'd be embarrassed if I didn't do and didn't try and work as hard as I can. I'd be embarrassed. And I wish more people were embarrassed by not doing their best at something not trying to be as competent as they can be. I think embarrassment's a good thing. It sucks to feel embarrassed. That's why it's called embarrassed. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to. We don't, I'm not one for participation trophies. I am for equal opportunity. And if you have the opportunity to be competent at something, you can study and work at something, and you live and breathe it, and you fully commit to it. Well, now let's see who wins the race, who wins the game, who is the best, who gets your trophy. I wish more people were a little embarrassed. I think today, so many people just brush it off. Well, no one will care. I'll just do something else. I got my 15 minutes. I'll go do something else. Well, hang on a second. No. So it starts with me. And, we'll get into this in a minute, I think, but in talking about the value of positivity in team, I know they say there is no I in team, but you will have a better team if you have a team of individuals who are self-starters and self-motivators and have a measure on themselves that is higher than anyone else's about what they perceive as excellent from themselves.
Love that. I know that you love the Texas Longhorns. Imagine they're coming back in a month and they want you to speak to them. What would you tell them right now after all they've been through?
Oh, yeah. Geez, what would I say now? It's a good question, because I've talked to many of our teams at many different times. And when we've, like I said, before the national championship game, I've talked to our teams after coming off a 50-point blowout. And the message I always check with the coach about, what do you internally, the coach will have the pulse on the team. What are you internally teaching this team? What do they need right now? Because I don't want to come in with a different message that confuses them, going, wait a minute, coach has been talking about this. What? What I do want to come in is hear what you're talking about, give my version of that in a different way that can hopefully inspire a few that maybe go, oh, number one, I'm hearing that twice, but I'm hearing a different way that maybe I connect with more, so I can compound what the head coach is trying to get across. Look, coming back now, this is going to be, this next season, whenever it starts, is going to be more of a mental challenge, a mental game than ever before. Their lives were completely disrupted. What have they been doing during this furlough? What have they been doing during this time when they're off? How much have they stayed mentally sharp? How much have they been able to relax and kind of let it go? That will be an asset too. Because again, that anticipation story we were talking about, if they're sitting there grinding every day going, man, tomorrow I got to be back. Tomorrow I got to be back. Well, they might burn out. So they're going to have to take this time to rest their bodies, rest their minds somewhat, and come back, but also not lose the edge, knowing that it could be next week. It could be next month that we're back in the game. You're back at practice. So I think, I don't know what my message would be. I'd have to talk to the coach. I'd have to see when that time to come back would be. I'd have to see what the mindset of the team is, and are they able to put not only this time behind them, but not deny this time. Actually go, look, yeah, I, like everybody else, had responsibilities thrown on me that I did not expect and are unprecedented. So what did I learn from that? Did I did I gain respect for my own life and abilities more at this time? Did I get closer to my family, which gives me more incentive and reason to play and try to do my best? What are those things that we can compound off of what they learned during this quarantine as young men and women and athletes at a time where they're going, what the heck is going on? And they maybe have to be, but someone may not be able to put that into words. And hopefully I would be able to help them put those things into words. What did you learn during this time? What inventory did you take on your own, or did you take and didn't even mean to take? Because they're all taking inventory, whether they know it or not. We all are.
And we'll know who's using this time to get better or get worse during this time.
Yeah. I mean, look, limbo, it is a lot of times human nature, when you got nothing to do, no good's usually a lot of times the next choice, So times of limbo, when you're like, where's my structure? Where's my things to depend on? It's a very susceptible time for just human nature to go, well, since I'm up to nothing, I'm going to be up to no good. It's a very easy thing to do. And it's easier to fall into that trap when you are in limbo, when you do not know what your borders are and what is expected of you. You don't have a regiment and a structure. I mean, I'm a big believer that structure creates freedom, and that's what I meant earlier when I said, prepare to play, prepare here, understand so I can throw it out. And call audibles and be a Vince Young on the field who's feeling the game as it is. And yeah, we coached this play. We know we want to do this drive, but I just saw the cornerback drop back. I'm going to call an audible here because I'm about to throw the slant or whatever it is because he's in the game. Those are some of the things.
I love it. As we move forward, what do you hope for? What are you excited about as we move towards the future?
Is for in general?
In life, as you're going through right now, we need something to long for, something to hope for. What are you longing for? What are you hoping for?
Like I said earlier, we're all doing inventory now, whether we're cognitively, intentionally doing it or it's just coming to us. We've been put into a forced winter. And winter is the time you hibernate and take inventory. You know what I mean? Sunday at church is when I go take inventory. Well, I'm not going to church anymore right now either. So, but I am in a forced winter. The days feel longer. But the beautiful thing, an asset of a time like this is while all of our, in this disruption, we've had so many of our options taken away from us. There's freedom in that. Fewer options mean fewer choices, which means less time trying to decide this, that, or the other. Simplify, take inventory, look inside. I'm looking forward to hopefully a shift in priorities and values coming out of this. And I don't know, because we as society, we are very pliable and can learn things and can change. At the same time, we are prone to go right back to the way we were real quickly. So it's going to be on us, but I know some of my priorities have been reorganized a little bit. I'm spending more time with my family, with my inner world here in my home, with myself, within the walls of my house. I know my dogs better now than I did before. I'm getting to know my kids better. I'm introducing our kids to, social media, and they're doing their work online. I'm so happy that right now I can be over their shoulder and teach them the responsibility of that, because they don't understand that if you go look up this online, this can show up, which was not what you want your kids to see. And so what is that out there in this new frontier called the internet? What does it mean if you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on someone's comment? What does it mean if you comment? I've been saying this a lot lately to all the youth out there. Your history is being recorded now more than ever. So every comment you make online anywhere, it will outlive you and your grandkids. So you're writing your book right now. So just think about it before you speak, before you act, before you comment. And know, I've been saying this, act in ways now that you can look forward to looking back later. So just it may be funny in the moment, or it might be the nice thing to do in the moment, but are you going to, down the line, or we think about, or when you have kids, would you want them to see that comment or that action or that thing? Would you stand by that? And none of us are perfect. We screw up all the time. I also think we should have a little more forgiveness in society today. As long as the person that's need to be forgiven is sincere about being forgiven and saying, like, I'm not planning on being forgiven and just become a repeat offender. We got to change and evolve and see somebody break a sweat to change their ways. Right now society tends to cast somebody over as a bad guy or a bad girl, just almost by association with things. And that's led to a lot of the partisanship and the tribalism that's not really healthy. Again, sports, great tribalism. It's awesome. You see it in all sports. It's yes, anything to beat the other, but then after it's over, hey man, good game. Move on.
So last question. You've grown up in Texas. You spent basically your whole life in Texas. You have an amazing attitude, incredible work ethic. You're iconic in the work that you do. Just love the way you approach everything that you do. How much has Texas shaped you?
That's a good question, and I get asked that often. I'm not sure I have a great answer for it. I'll tell you what I've thought, what's come to me when I've thought about that. Raised in Texas, I remember most places you are held accountable because you're McConaughey by your family name. You're held accountable because, oh, you're an American. You're held accountable because, you know, you're a child of God. You're held accountable by transcendent sort of expectations that come with your name, your family name, your nation, your God. Well, if that's three, in Texas, there's always four. There was your name. You did things because of your name. You didn't do things because of your name. There's because you're state. You do this because you're Texan, or you don't act this way because you're Texan, and nation and God. So it's another measuring stick of merit and credibility that we put on ourselves. Another thing about Texas, though, is it has such an identity, but we're not a secular state. Meaning Texans have a very defined identity about who we are and what home is. But we're like, fill your passport, get out of here, go, conquer, share, and come back and tell us the stories of what you learned. But don't just stay here. Like, go, get out of here. Be brave enough, courageous enough to get out of here and travel the world in this big playground on this globe and come back. You know, so there's a sense of confidence. There's a sense of sort of frontiersmanship, a spirit of adventure, as well as a very strong identity. So it's not an identity that's aloof, but we do push you to say, hey, go, seek, conquer, learn, come back home.
So good. I just have to ask you this. This came to me. I just have to ask it. Has your faith shaped you at all?
Sure it has. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I was telling you about, I mean, we all, whether I'm a believer, right? So I have my transcendent that I look up to, where, you know, I'm at the very least, or very at the most, number two, as my relationship with God. As I was saying, I go to church, I take inventory. I look back at my week. What were my expectations for myself? How did I live up to those? Where did I bogey? Where did I birdie? How can I quit bogeying that? Oh, did I hit one OB? Oh, geez. You know, can I be forgiven for that? Can I change that? You know, and where my faith, you know, then it leads to our own personal Jiminy Crickets, our own personal conscience. And I always say this: no matter who's in your bed, you're only sleeping with one person, and that's you. And an honest man's pillow is his peace of mind. Again, I'll take when I say I don't mean that quite literally, because I am a great bullshitter, but I'm not a big fan of liars. Now, my faith, you know, it does keep me grounded, but at the same time, it also gives me courage to be in absolute flight. You know, there's that spot right there where, as a believer, you're reminded of your mortality, and in the timeline of the world and the universe, we're just a little piece of dust and a blip. But there's something in that doesn't make you go, oh, then none of it matters. No, in that is where you realize it all matters. And you give more respect to yourself, and you give more respect to others, and you don't have too much reverence for mortal talismans, and you don't condescend and patronize things that you see below you, and the world is flat as you move forward in it. And that's where real courage and honesty lies for me, when I can see the world like that. And that has a lot to do with my faith.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I appreciate you being on this, and I just think the world of you. Thank you.
John, thanks for having me. Everybody take care of yourselves. We will get through this. It shall pass, but we're going to have some work to do, more work to do to get to the other side. Just keep living.